Hey, Pastor Josh here. We're reading Genesis chapter 50, verses 1 through 14. Then Joseph fell on his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. You just see the immense grief that Joseph is feeling right now. His father has passed away. He's brought his whole family back. And now Joseph, who probably was thinking he would never, ever see his family again, never, ever see his father again, he now sees his father, and his father has just passed away. He has just passed on as the scripture told us, that he pulled up his feet in the bed and he went to be gathered to his people and appear before his Lord. But whenever someone passes, there is an immense grief that happens to our own hearts. And so there is Joseph weeping over his father's face. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. 40 days were required for it, for that is how many are required for embalming. And the Egyptians wept for him for 70 days. So the Egyptians, not only is Joseph moved to grief, the Egyptians are as well. And this really speaks highly of Joseph. The people of Egypt really loved Joseph. They really supported Joseph. They loved him so much that they loved Joseph's daddy. And so even the death of Joseph's father causes great grief throughout the entire land of Egypt. Now, what is ironic about this is that the Egyptians in the next generation, or in a few generations to come, they're going to cause the people of Israel to weep. Whereas when you turn the page and you come into the book of Exodus, you will see that the people of Israel are crying out to the Lord because they have found themselves in slavery under the hands of the Egyptians. So here at the end of Genesis, the Egyptians are weeping for the Israelites. And then in Exodus, we see the Israelites are weeping because they are under immense pain and under the intense whip of the Egyptian people. And when the days of weeping for him were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh. Now, this is an example for us to follow. If you remember from yesterday's reading, Jacob requested Joseph not bury him in Egypt. And so Joseph is being bold here to ask Pharaoh, let me leave, let me go away and bury my father. This would perhaps be a slightly risky move because Joseph is an employee. Remember, he is working for Pharaoh, and he is going to leave and come back. And Pharaoh perhaps may be worried to say, okay, why is he wanting to leave? Why is he wanting to bury his father somewhere else? Maybe he's not going to come back. Pharaoh perhaps could have said no. And so Joseph had to have some boldness to ask Pharaoh to say, hey, can I go bury my father in the land where he's from? And this is, again, another ironic statement because this is the opposite of what Pharaoh does for Moses when Moses asks him if he could take the people of Israel to go out and sacrifice to their Lord. Pharaoh denies them and says, no, you cannot do that. So Joseph says, if now I have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, my father made me swear, saying, I'm about to die in my tomb that I hewed out for myself in the land of Canaan. There shall you bury me. So there's the command, there's the request of Jacob to his son Joseph. And here is a command for us to obey, not in the sense that we obey this particular command, but it is for us to obey in the sense of that we need to stay committed to our God. We need to be committed to the things that he is about. Jacob wanted it clear that he was not an Egyptian. He was He had a homeland. He had a land that was promised to him, and he wanted to be buried there because that was the land that was promised to him and to his descendants. And he wanted to not forsake that promise, but he wanted to find himself there in that land as well. We need to make sure that we are staying true and staying connected to the things that the Lord has called us to His Son Jesus Christ, to the church, to the tasks that He has asked and commanded us to do. Now therefore, let me please go up and bury my father, then I will return. And Pharaoh answered and said, Go up and bury your father as he made you swear. So Joseph went up to bury his father. With him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his household, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, as well as all the household of Joseph, his brothers, and his father's household. Only their children, their flocks, and their herds were left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariot and horsemen. It was a very great company. So there's this huge entourage that is going to bury Jacob. It's a very great company. When they came to the threshing fold of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, they lamented there with a very great and grievous lamentation. It's just the impact that Joseph has had on the Egyptians. It is being exhibited in them grieving for the death of his father. And that is an attitude we need to adopt, to realize that we can indeed make an impact on the people around us. I think it's a good question for us to ask, is that when one day we pass away, will there be people that are lamenting, that are sad that we're gone? Granted, we don't want people just to be all sad when we leave, but we would like it to have been that we made a difference, that we made an impact on people, that people are actually sad to see us go. They lamented there with a very great and grievous lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. When the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning on the threshing floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning by the Egyptians. It was so great that the people of the land, the Canaanites, said, Wow, this is something serious that's going on. Therefore the place was named Abel Mizraim. It is beyond the Jordan. Thus his sons did for him as he had commanded him. They followed through on their promise, for his sons carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field at Machpelah, to the east of Mamre, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite, to possess as a burial place. After he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who had gone up with him to bury his father. They go back, and we know 400 years later they will become slaves. I pray that has been a blessing and a help to you, and I'll see you in the next video.